Hello and welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're shifting gears a little.
Oh, yeah.
We aren't just scanning a stack of articles, we are stepping into the role of high-stakes tutors.
Okay.
Imagine we are the world's most expensive CIMA E2 coaches and, we have exactly 1 hour to turn a student from a fail to a distinction.
I like the sound of that. And honestly, for the topic we are covering today, you really do need a coaching mindset.
You do.
We are diving deep into Chapter 6, Part 2, Controlling Performance. But, and this is the important part, we aren't talking about spreadsheets and variance analysis today.
No.
We are looking at the messy, complicated human side of control.
We've spent previous dives looking at, the hard architecture of business structure strategies, the rigid skeletons of how an organization is built. But today we are pivoting to the soft skills. And I almost hesitate to use the word soft because, in my experience, these are often the hardest skills to master. We are talking about relationship management.
Soft skills, hard results, as the saying goes. It sounds a bit like management fluff. Be nice to people. But in the context of the CIMA E2 syllabus, this is really where the rubber meets the road.
It is.
It's about the tension between the cold, hard logic of control systems and the warm, unpredictable nature of human beings.
And that's our mission today. We need to help you, the listener, master the effectiveness of organizational relationships. We're going to dissect how you control a team without, crushing their spirit.
Right.
How you build trust without losing oversight, and how you navigate the minefield of performance appraisals.
And for the exam candidates listening, we have a very specific lead outcome to chase.
Let's hear it.
Discuss the effectiveness of organizational relationships. That means you need to be able to look at a scenario, maybe a dysfunctional team or a toxic manager, and diagnose exactly what is going wrong using the tools we're about to cover.
So let's map the territory then. We're starting with the physics of control, the control loop. Then we're moving to William Ochi and his strategies for controlling organizations. We'll break down the psychological contract, which is fascinating stuff.
It really is.
Dissect why performance appraisals are so universally hated and how to fix them. And finally, we'll tackle Peter Drucker's management by objectives and conflict resolution.
It's a packed agenda. We're moving from the theoretical architecture to the practical toolkit.
Let's jump right into section 6.1, control mechanisms. Now, when I hear control, my brain immediately goes to a micromanager.
Sure.
Someone hovering over my shoulder, checking my typos. But in CIMA terms, control is a neutral, almost mechanical term, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, we need to strip away the emotional baggage of the word. We use Lucy's definition here. Control is the process of ensuring that operations proceed according to plan.
Which implies you have a plan in the first place.
Precisely. You can't control what you haven't planned.
Right.
If you don't know where you're going, any ray will get you there. And you can't measure if you're off track. The definition is deceptively simple, but it hides a really complex mechanism.
The source material paints a picture of a control loop. I want to visualize this for the listener because it appears simple, but it's actually quite sophisticated. It's a cycle.
Right. Close your eyes and imagine a thermostat. That is the perfect analogy.
Okay.
It starts with an input. In a business, that's your raw materials, your capital, your staff, the resources you pour in. That input goes into a process. That's the work, the manufacturing, the coding, the service delivery.
Right.
That process creates an output, the finished product or service.
So far, that's just a production line. Input, process, output. Where does the control part actually happen?
The control happens with the sensor. You need a mechanism to measure the output.
So the thermostat reading the temperature.
Exactly. Or a manager reading the sales report. But here's where it gets tricky. The sensor sends that data to a comparator.
The comparator. This is the brain of the operation.
Yes. It compares the actual, what really happened against the standard, which is the plan.
The
target. If the room is 18 degrees, but the thermostat is set to 21 degrees, the comparator spots a variance. It then signals the regulator, the furnace, to turn on and change the inputs.
It sounds beautifully logical. Input, process, output, measure, compare, adjust. But in the real world, this loop breaks constantly, doesn't it?
Oh, it breaks everywhere. I mean, sometimes the standard is unclear. A manager says, just do a good job.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? The comparator can't work if the standard is that vague. Sometimes the sensor is faulty.
The data's bad.
The sales report is wrong, or the manager is biased and only sees the mistakes. Or sometimes the regulator is weak. You know there's a problem, you see the variance, but you lack the resources or power to fix it.
And that's just the mechanics. The real complexity comes in when the regulator is a human manager trying to adjust the behavior of a human employee.
Right.
You can't just turn a dial on a person like you can on a furnace.
No, and that brings us to the crucial distinction in this chapter. Formal versus informal control.
Let's break those down.
Okay, so formal control is the explicit stuff. It's written down.
The rule book.
The rule book, the job description, the budget variance report. It's the hard architecture we talked about.
Yep.
If you work in a nuclear power plant, you live in a world of formal control.
Of course.
Checklists, protocols, strict hierarchy. You don't want the safety inspector improvising.
Exactly. You don't want a creative approach to nuclear safety. But you cannot run a business on formal control alone.
No.
You also have informal control.
And this is implicit. It's unwritten. It relies on social norms, culture, and most importantly, trust.
The way we do things around here.
That's it. It's the glance across the room that says, shape up. It's the internal desire to do good work.
The sources highlight a fascinating dynamic here called the trust balance. It suggests there is an inverse relationship between trust and formal control.
Think of it as a sliding scale or a seesaw. In a high-trust environment, you need very few formal controls. If I trust you completely to act in the company's best interest, I don't need to track your keystrokes or make you sign a form to buy a stapler.
I trust your judgment.
I trust your judgment.
But in a low-trust environment...
And the clipboard comes out. Yeah. If I don't trust you, I introduce monitoring, I demand reports, I require 3 signatures for every decision, I ramp up the formal control.
And this creates a vicious cycle, doesn't it? This is the control paradox. The more I monitor you, the less trusted you feel.
Spot on. If you treat people like children, they act like children.
Right.
If you monitor every minute of their day, they stop taking initiative. They think, well, the boss is watching, so I'll just do exactly what I'm told and nothing more. You kill the intrinsic motivation.
Wow.
So the manager sees this lack of initiative, thinks they are lazy, and adds more control. It's a death spiral for culture.
So the better balance isn't about choosing one or the other. It's about context. You mentioned the nuclear plant high formal control is appropriate there. But if you ran a creative advertising agency like a nuclear plant...
You'd be out of business in a month. Creativity requires a degree of chaos. It requires informal control, trusting the designers to come up with magic.
Right.
If you force them to fill out a creativity request form in triplicate, the magic dies.
Context is king. That's a great segue into section 6.2. We need to talk about William Ochi. This is a name that pops up in exams constantly.
Ochi is essential. He identified 3, and we often add a 4th, basic strategies for organizational control.
Okay.
You need to know these because the exam will give you a company description and ask, which control strategy is best suited here.
Let's walk through them. Number 1, personal centralized control.
This is the mom and pop shop, the small business model.
Right.
The control mechanism is the owner. The boss is the censor, the comparator, and the regulator, all in one. They watch everything. They make every decision.
I've worked in a restaurant like that. The owner was in the kitchen, in the dining room, checking the till. It's fast, right? If the boss wants to change the menu, it changes now.
It's incredibly agile, but it has a fatal flaw. Span control. One human being only has so much attention. As the organization grows, this model collapses. You cannot personally supervise 500 people. If you try, you become the bottleneck for every decision. The chef can't taste every soup if there are 50 tables.
So the company grows, the owner can't watch everyone, they have to shift to strategy number 2, bureaucratic control.
This is the rule book approach. You replace the person with a system. You write down standard operating procedures or SOPs, you create a hierarchy, you implement budgets and standard costing. Now, the employee isn't obeying you, they're obeying the rule.
This gets a bad rap. Bureaucracy is a dirty word, but it's necessary, isn't it?
It's vital for scale. Bureaucracy provides consistency and fairness. You don't want your salary to depend on whether the boss likes you today. You want it based on the pay scale.
Good point.
You don't want safety to be a matter of opinion. The downside, obviously, is rigidity. Bureaucracies are slow to change and can stifle innovation.
Which leads us to the modern favorite, strategy number 3, output control.
This is the pivot from how you do it to what you achieve. The manager says, I need $1 million in sales this quarter. I don't care if you make calls, send emails, or use carrier pigeons. Just hit the number.
Don't bring me problems, bring me solutions.
Exactly. It facilitates delegation. It empowers the employee to find their own method. It sounds perfect.
What?
But there's a massive trap here.
It only works if the output is measurable.
Precisely. If you're a salesperson, I can measure sales. Easy. But what if you're a research scientist?
Yeah.
Or a teacher? Or a nurse?
Right.
If I measure a nurse solely on patients treated per hour, I might get speed, but I'll lose care quality. If I measure a scientist on papers published, I might get lots of low-quality papers and no breakthroughs.
This is Goodhart's law, right? When a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. People game the system.
They do.
Yeah.
And that's why when outputs are hard to measure, we need the fourth strategy, clan control or cultural control.
This is the social approach.
Yes. This is distinct from the others. It's not based on the boss watching, personal, the rules, bureaucratic, or the numbers output. It's based on shared values.
Okay.
Employees regulate themselves because they have bought in. They identify with the tribe. We are Google engineers, and we write clean code because that's who we are.
The source text mentions rituals, routines, stories, and symbols.
Those are the tools of clan control. The story of how the founder started in a garage.
Right.
The ritual of the Friday all-hands meeting, the symbol of the casual dress code. These things signal, you are one of us. Act like one of us. Peer pressure is a more powerful regulator than any manager. If you slack off in a high-performance clan, your peers will correct you before the boss even notices.
So for the exam, the pitfall is misdiagnosing the company. If you have a scenario about a highly skilled R&D lab where innovation is key, and you suggest bureaucratic control, you fail. You crush the innovation.
You need clan control.
You need clan control. Conversely, if you have a fast food franchise where consistency is everything, clan control is too loose. You need bureaucratic control.
Exactly. Match the control strategy to the environment. That is the key to passing this section.
Let's deepen this idea of buy-in and move to section 6.3, trust and control. There's a concept here that I think explains a lot of modern workplace dissatisfaction. The psychological contract. This isn't a piece of paper you sign with HR, is it?
No, and that's why it's so dangerous. It is invisible. The psychological contract is the unwritten set of mutual expectations between the employee and the employer.
So what I think I owe you.
And what I believe you owe me. Exactly.
And the sources suggest this contract has fundamentally changed.
It has, massively. The old model was transactional. I give you loyalty and hard work. You give me job security and a pension, a deal. The employer only cared about the work life. Responsibility was individual.
But that world is gone. I mean, job security is largely a myth. Pensions are rare.
Right. So the new model, or at least the model employees are demanding, is holistic.
Right.
I give you my talent and creativity. You give me meaningful work, flexibility, and you care about my well-being. The employer is expected to care about the whole life.
And when that doesn't happen?
When we see phenomena like quiet quitting, that is a breach of the psychological contract. The employee feels the company has broken its side of the deal, maybe by demanding unpaid overtime or ignoring burnout, so they withdraw their discretionary effort.
This connects directly to ethics. You can control people through compliance or through integrity.
A compliance-based approach is external. It's fear-based.
Dick.
The stick. Don't steal or you'll get fired. It's basically police work. It assumes people will do the wrong thing unless they're watched.
Right. And the other.
An integrity-based approach is internal. I won't steal because I am an honest person and this is an honest company. It assumes people want to do the right thing.
And you can't have an integrity-based culture if the leadership is corrupt. The phrase tone from the top is crucial here.
It's everything. The sources reference a case study involving a manager named M.
Okay.
If M is cooking the books or bullying staff or taking kickbacks, all the formal codes of conduct are worthless.
Just paper.
Just paper. Employees are excellent sensors. They detect hypocrisy instantly. If the boss cheats, the staff will cheat. Why should I follow the rules if he doesn't?
This leads to the very tricky issue of whistleblowing. In a corrupt culture, so a low-integrity culture, the whistleblower is the enemy.
They're a snitch.
They're a snitch. In a healthy culture, a high-integrity one, the whistleblower is a guardian. They are protecting the organism from a disease.
That's a great way to put it. For the exam, you have to remember, you cannot install effective control systems in a vacuum. If the culture is rotten, the controls will be bypassed. You have to fix the tone from the top first.
Okay, let's shift gears from the philosophical to the practical. The operational tools of control. Section 6.4, employee performance appraisal.
Uh-oh.
Now, be honest, has anyone ever enjoyed a performance appraisal?
Laugh-ins, very, very few. They're usually the most dreaded hour of the year for both the manager and the employee.
I can believe that.
But in theory, they are essential. CIMA defines it as a systematic review of performance, potential, and training needs. Note the word systematic.
It's not just a chat by the coffee machine.
Exactly.
And it has 3 distinct jobs, right? The 3 Ps, I think.
Yes. First, performance review. This is looking backward. The historical record. Did you hit the target?
Okay.
Second, reward review. The transaction. Here is your bonus or your raise.
The money part.
The money part. And third, potential review. Looking forward. Where are you going? Can you be a manager?
The problem is we often try to do all 3 in one meeting. And I can imagine the scene. I'm sitting there terrified about my bonus, the reward part. You were trying to talk to me about my long-term career growth, the potential. I am not listening to a word you say about growth. I just want to know if I can afford my mortgage.
Exactly. The noise of the reward discussion drowns out the developmental discussion. Best practice often suggests separating them. Have a pay talk and then, a separate growth talk.
That makes sense. The sources also call the appraisal a communication channel.
It is a forced mechanism to clear the lines. In the daily grind, we get signal drift.
What's that?
I think I'm doing a great job. You think I'm failing. But we're both too busy to discuss it. The appraisal forces us to sit down, calibrate our comparators, our internal standards, and agree on reality. It links the individual to the wider machine.
But it fails. Often. Section 6.5 gives us a list from Lockett called the Barriers to Effective Appraisal.
Yes.
This is gold for the exam. You will likely get a scenario describing a disaster of a meeting, and you have to identify why it failed. Let's run through Lockett's 6 barriers.
Let's do it. Barrier 1, confrontation. This is when the feedback loop becomes an argument.
A fight.
A fight. The manager attacks, the employee defends. You're lazy. No, I'm overworked. Once the adrenaline spikes, the neocortex shuts down. No learning happens. It's just a fight.
Barrier 2, judgment. This is the judge and jury approach. The manager sits behind a big desk and reads a verdict. It's one-way traffic. You did X wrong. You need to improve Y. The employee is passive. They feel powerless. They leave the room resentful, not motivated.
And that leads to the opposite problem. Barrier 3, chat.
Ah, the nice guy manager.
Yes. They are terrified of conflict. So the meeting is just, how's the family? How's the football? Oh, work is fine. You're doing great. Keep it up.
And the employee leaves happy.
But with zero clarity.
And this is so dangerous because the employee thinks they are safe. Then, when the company lays people off for poor performance, this employee is blindsided. But you said I was doing great.
Exactly. The chat is actually a betrayal of the truth. Clear is kind, unclear is unkind. Then we have barrier 4, bureaucracy, the form-filling exercise. The manager is clearly just ticking boxes to satisfy HR.
They're not looking at you.
They don't look you in the eye, they look at the paper. Okay, question 4. Rate yourself 1 to 5. Good. Question 5. The message sent is, I don't care about you, I care about the process.
Barrier 5, unfinished business. This is my pet peeve. The manager brings up a mistake from 6 months ago.
Oh, yes.
Remember in February when you were late? Why didn't you tell me in February? Appraisal should be summaries of continuous feedback, not a dumping ground for hoarded grievances.
And finally, barrier 6, annual event. This relates to timing. The business world moves at the speed of light. Setting targets in January and reviewing them in December is just insane.
Yeah.
The targets are obsolete by March. If it's just a once-a-year ritual, it's irrelevant.
So if you see any of these in an exam scenario, name them. The manager failed because of the chat barrier. That gets you the marks.
Right.
So how do we fix it? The expert text suggests 3 interview styles.
There are 3 main ones. First is tell, the autocrat. Here is your rating, sign it.
Harsh.
Efficient but demotivating, high control, low participation. Second is tell and sell, the salesman. Here's your rating and here's why it's fair.
A little better.
Better, but still top down.
Yeah.
You are trying to persuade them to accept your verdict. And then there's the third one, problem solving, the coach.
Okay.
How do you think it went? What were the blockers? How can we solve them together? This creates a partnership. It shifts the dynamic from me versus you to us versus the problem.
And presumably problem solving is the preferred method.
For development and relationship management, absolutely.
Yeah.
It encourages the employee to take ownership of the solution.
And to fix the bias, we have 360-degree feedback.
This is the antidote to the judgment barrier. Instead of just one boss rating you, you get data from peers, subordinates, customers, and yourself. If your boss thinks you're a star, but your team thinks you're a tyrant, 360 feedback reveals that gap. It's painful, but it's the truth. It provides a holistic view.
Moving on to section 6.6. We can't talk about performance management without the grandfather of modern management, Peter Drucker and MBO management by objectives. Drucker wrote this in 1954. Why are we still talking about it?
Because it was a revolution. Before Drucker, management was command and control. I tell you what to do, you do it.
Right.
Drucker introduced self-control. His insight was, if we agree on the objective, I can leave you alone to figure out the method.
It's the origin of output control. Drucker suggested targets in 4 areas: profitability, management performance, worker performance, and public responsibility.
Yep.
But the magic is in the process.
Yes. The MBO cycle has specific steps. First, clarify organizational goals. Second, negotiation. And this is the key step.
Okay.
Third, agree on plans. Fourth, monitor or self-evaluate. And fifth, periodic review.
Let's double-click on negotiation. The exam trap here is subtle.
It is.
If a manager walks in and says, here are your MBO targets, and a 10% growth, good luck. That is not MBO.
No, that's just dictatorship with a fancy name. MBO requires participation.
So what does that look like?
The manager says, our team needs 10% growth. Looking at your territory, what can you contribute? The employee says, I can do 8%, but if you give me a marketing budget, I can do 12%. They negotiate.
Why does this matter so much?
Because of commitment. If I set the target, or at least I agreed to it, I own it.
Right.
If you set the target, it's your problem. When things get tough, I will fight for my target. I won't fight for yours.
This all relies on goal congruence.
Yes. Aligning the arrow of the individual with the arrow of the company. When my success equals the company's success, you don't need to micromanage me. I will drive myself.
All right, we are in the home stretch. Section 6.7, other techniques to enhance performance. We have a toolkit here: coaching, mentoring, team development, and conflict resolution. First, coaching versus mentoring. In common language, we use these interchangeably. My mentor, my coach.
All the time.
But for CIMA, they are distinct species.
Very distinct. And you will lose marks if you mix them up. Coaching is about the job.
The job.
It is task-oriented. It is short-term. I need you to learn this new software. I need to fix your sales pitch. The relationship is usually manager-subordinate. We use the GROW model here. Goal, reality, options, will. It's a tactical tool.
Mentoring, on the other hand,
is about the career. It is long-term. A mentor is usually not your direct boss. It's someone senior, perhaps in another department. They provide 2 types of functions. First, career functions. Visibility, protection, networking, opening doors. Second, psychosocial functions. Counseling, role modeling, confidence building. So, coach for skill, mentor for life.
Next up, team development. We have to mention Tuckman. Forming, storming, norming, performing.
Classic.
The mistake managers make here is trying to skip the storming phase.
Oh, they hate storming. Forming is polite. Everyone is smiling, testing the waters. Storming is when the gloves come off. People argue about roles, leadership, and direction.
And managers hate that.
Weak managers try to suppress this. Stop fighting. Be nice.
But that is a mistake.
Huge mistake. Storming is where the team forges its identity. You have to break the bone to set it correctly. If you suppress storming, you never get to norming, which is establishing the rules, or performing, which is high efficiency. You get stuck in a polite, mediocre limbo. You end up with groupthink.
So the manager's role changes through this.
It has to.
In forming, they direct. In storming, they coach and resolve conflict. In norming, they facilitate. In performing, they delegate.
Exactly. You have to match your control style to the team's life cycle stage.
Finally, conflict resolution and negotiation. Conflict is inevitable. The syllabus highlights the 4 stages of negotiation.
First, preparation. Do your homework. What is your BT&A?
Best alternative to a negotiated agreement.
Right. What do they want? Second, opening. State your case. Set the anchor. Third, be bargaining. This is the dance. If I give you this, you give me that. The rational debate. And fourth, closing. Sealing the deal.
And the holy grail is the win-win.
Always. A win-lose negotiation where I crush you on price or I force you to work overtime is a time bomb.
How so?
The loser will eventually retaliate by quitting, by lowering quality, by sabotage. In relationship management, the relationship is the asset. If you win the battle but destroy the relationship, you have lost the war.
This has been a massive deep dive. We've covered the mechanics of the control loop, ouchie strategies, the psychology of trust, the pitfalls of appraisals, Drucker's MBO, and the toolkit of coaching and negotiation. It really highlights that control isn't about power, it's about alignment.
That's the perfect summary. It's about aligning systems, cultures, and individuals so they all move in the same direction without constant force.
Now, for the student listening, how do they turn this conversation into marks? What are your top 3 tips for this chapter?
Okay, I have 3 big pieces of advice for the E2 exam. 1, contextualize.
Yeah.
Don't blindly apply bureaucracy to every problem.
Right.
Look at the company type. Is it a startup, a factory, a creative agency?
Yeah.
Pick the control strategy, the ouchie strategy that fits the culture.
Okay, number 2.
2, be a diagnostic doctor. When you see a failed appraisal in a question, use Lockett's terms. Don't just say it was bad. Say it failed due to the judgment barrier and a lack of MBO negotiation. Use the vocabulary.
Good tip. And 3.
3, differentiate. Know the difference between compliance versus integrity and coaching versus mentoring. These are easy marks if you get the definitions right and costly errors if you mix them up.
Excellent advice. And I'll leave you with this thought. We've talked a lot about managing others, but MBO began as a concept of self-control. As you study for this exam, are you applying these principles to yourself? Do you have clear objectives? Are you giving yourself honest feedback, the comparator, or are you falling into the chat barrier with yourself, telling yourself you studied when you really just highlighted a few pages?
That's a provocative thought. We are our own most difficult employees to manage.
Indeed. Manage yourself with the same rigor we discussed today. Thank you for joining us on the Deep Dive. Review the Lockett and Ouchie diagrams in your notes, visualize a control loop, and go crush that exam.
Good luck, everyone. Go get that pass.
See you next time.